The silence of deep space was absolute, broken only by the faint hum of the USS Valkyrie's engine core. Captain Ryan Mercer leaned against the command console, his eyes scanning the starlit void. To anyone else, the galaxy was a magnificent panorama of twinkling lights, but to him it was a chessboard, each star a piece, each planet a possible battlefield. He had seen warships rise from nowhere, trade alliances crumble, and entire colonies vanish in seconds, but nothing prepared him for what he had just witnessed. Earlier that day, the Galactic Council, the galaxy's highest governing authority, a coalition of the most powerful civilizations, had convened a session that would go down in human history. Mercer's ship was the lone human observer, a token gesture, they said. Humanity was new, unpolished, volatile. He had laughed at the diplomatic euphemisms in the briefings, until now. The holographic feed from the council chamber still flickered in his mind. The chamber itself was an enormous crystalline dome, floating in the heart of the Andromeda Convergence. Representatives from dozens of advanced civilizations spoke in calculated tones, their alien physiologies shimmering under the bioluminescent lighting. And then came the moment, an unprovoked, audacious accusation against Earth. "They call themselves humans," intoned Varaxis, a three-armed being from Thrylos Prime. "They are unworthy of galactic integration. Their expansionist tendencies threaten all life forms." And then another voice, smoother, colder, almost serpentine. "We propose sanctions, a quarantine, complete erasure of human influence." Mercer had pressed the intercom, his voice steady but edged with fire. "That's absurd! You have no proof that humanity poses a threat beyond—" But even as he spoke, his comm feed had been terminated. The council ignored him, a chorus of alien voices drowning out the human protest. And then, the minutes disappeared. Official records, historical logs, even private feeds from independent observers, all erased as if humanity had never been mentioned. Mercer stared at the empty void of the council archives aboard the Valkyrie. Every record of the session, gone. The council had crossed a line and they had the power to erase it from existence. But Mercer knew better. History could be deleted, evidence could be scrubbed, but actions had consequences. The mission began the moment he realized humanity's existence was being threatened. He called in his senior officers. Commander Olivia Hart, the tactical genius who could anticipate an ambush before it happened. Lieutenant Daniel Reyes, the pilot who could navigate the Valkyrie through asteroid storms blindfolded. And Dr. Emily Stanton, the scientist whose knowledge of quantum mechanics rivaled any in the galaxy. "Listen carefully," Mercer said, his voice steady but sharp. "The Council just tried to erase humanity. They erased their records, and anyone not human will deny it happened. We are now alone in knowing the truth. And that makes us the target." Hart's eyes narrowed. "You think they'll go after us directly?" "They've already made the attempt indirectly," Mercer replied. "Sanctions, trade embargoes, political isolation, they've weaponized bureaucracy. But if they perceive that we remember, that humanity still exists in memory, they'll act, militarily." Reyes leaned back in his chair, running a hand over his jaw. "So we fight ghosts." "I like fighting ghosts." "Not ghosts," Mercer said. "We fight consequences. And sometimes, consequences fight back." The Valkyrie moved into hyperspace toward Earth's outpost on Epsilon 7, a remote mining colony on the edge of the Orion Rift. Mercer needed intelligence. If the Council had the power to erase records, they had the power to manipulate entire systems. But humans had one advantage: unpredictability. As they approached the colony, alarms flared. The outer sensors detected a fleet, unidentified ships, cloaked in shadows. The Valkyrie went to battle stations. Hart's voice cut through the tense hum. "Captain, they're not attacking. Yet. They're scanning, reading our signatures. Whoever they are, they're cautious." Mercer's hand hovered over the console. "Cautious doesn't mean harmless. Reyes, prepare evasive maneuvers. Dr. Stanton, initiate the temporal countermeasure protocol. If they try to erase our presence, we need a failsafe." Stanton's fingers danced across her console. Captain, if they engage the erasure field, it could destabilize the local space-time continuum. Epsilon 7 could vanish. Then we protect it, Mercer said. At all costs. The fleet finally revealed itself. Silver warships shaped like jagged shards, moving with precision no known human technology could replicate. They were silent predators. Mercer's stomach tightened. They're waiting for something, Hart muttered, analyzing the formation. They're testing our reactions. Then came the transmission. No language Mercer recognized, yet somehow, through a combination of intuition and Stanton's quantum decoder, the message was clear. Cease all interference. You are insignificant. You will be removed. Mercer's jaw clenched. They've crossed the line, and they've just guaranteed our retaliation. The battle, when it came, was brief but brutal. Valkyrie's railguns cut through the Shadow Fleet like fire through mist, but for every ship destroyed, 2 more emerged. Then came the unexpected. Ships from previously neutral systems joined the fray, not as allies, but as instruments of the Council. Humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and yet there was a spark, a defiance in the eyes of the crew that no alien power could erase. "Captain," Hart shouted, "we can't hold them forever. We need a plan." Mercer's gaze was fixed on the largest of the Council's vessels, the flagship hovering like a black monolith. "We don't hold them. We make them regret thinking they could erase us," and in that instant, he made a choice. Not just for the Valkyrie, not just for Epsilon 7, but for all of humanity. A choice that would start a war not written in any Council record. A war where humans would strike not from power, but from sheer unyielding defiance. As the Valkyrie dove toward the heart of the Council fleet, Mercer felt a strange clarity. They could erase history. They could rewrite events, but they could never erase courage, loyalty, or the human spirit, and that was a weapon no Council could contain. The USS Valkyrie tore through the void, its engines screaming as it dove headfirst into the Council fleet. Ryan Mercer gripped the command rail, his knuckles white, but his mind was a steel trap of focus. Around him, the crew moved with precision, their fear transformed into a controlled, almost lethal rhythm. This was no longer a mission. It was a declaration. The shadowy alien warships, elegant yet lethal, reacted as expected, surrounding the Valkyrie in a calculated, suffocating net. Their formation resembled a predator circling its prey, but Mercer had never liked being prey. "Status report," he barked. Olivia Hart's voice was crisp, unyielding. "Shields holding at 83%. Hull integrity stable. They're adapting to our weapons patterns faster than we can predict." "Then we give them patterns they can't anticipate," Mercer muttered. "Reyes evasive maneuvers Gamma 3. Make them chase ghosts." Daniel Reyes's hands flew across the controls, twisting the Valkyrie through impossible arcs. The enemy ships adjusted, but the human reflexes and improvisation were unpredictable. For every strike the Council launched, Mercer found an angle to counter, exploiting a tiny flaw in their programming, a margin they had not accounted for, the chaos of human intuition. "Captain," Dr. Emily Stanton's voice crackled through the comms, "I've completed the initial quantum disruption field. If I release it, it will destabilize their cloaking arrays, but it's risky. Could collapse local space-time if miscalculated." Mercer's eyes narrowed. "Do it! We need to level the playing field." Stanton's fingers danced across the console, and a wave of energy shot outward. The Council ships faltered, their shadows flickering as the human-made field exposed them. For the first time, the Valkyrie's crew glimpsed the full scale of the fleet, a mass of alien engineering, glimmering like shards of black ice in starlight. Countless ships converging like a storm. Hart leaned forward. "It's working!" "But they'll retaliate hard. They didn't have to wait long." The flagship's dark hull shimmered, and a pulse of energy larger than anything Mercer had ever seen surged toward the Valkyrie. The ship rocked violently as shields screamed under the onslaught. Crew members gripped consoles, bracing for impact. Mercer's mind raced. The Council wasn't just fighting. They were testing boundaries, probing weaknesses. Their arrogance was palpable. And that arrogance was their first mistake. "Return fire!" Mercer roared. "Target the flagship. Hit it where it counts!" The Valkyrie's railguns flared, tearing into the massive vessel. Sparks and fractures spiderwebbed across its hull. Mercer knew they hadn't inflicted fatal damage, but every strike counted. Every action reminded the Council that humanity refused to be erased. Hours passed, though time felt fractured in the battle. The Valkyrie moved like a phantom among the Council fleet, its crew performing with lethal grace. But exhaustion was setting in. Even the sharpest minds, the most disciplined soldiers, had limits. Mercer could see it in Hart's steady hands trembling slightly, in Reyes's jaw clenched so tightly his teeth ached, in Stanton's eyes, wide and unblinking as she monitored the quantum fluctuations around them. "Captain," Hart said, voice tight, "we can't hold them indefinitely. If this continues, the Valkyrie will be nothing but debris." Mercer exhaled slowly, calculating. "Then we shift from defense to offense. Dr. Stanton, prepare the temporal displacement matrix. We'll create an anomaly, draw them into a trap." Stanton's brow furrowed. "Captain, if we do this, we could erase part of the fleet, or worse. Epsilon 7 could be destroyed entirely. Then we make the gamble," Mercer said. "They chose to cross the line. Humanity doesn't back down from those who threaten our existence." The crew exchanged looks, a mixture of fear, trust, and determination. Mercer's calm in the storm was contagious. As Stanton initiated the matrix, the Valkyrie shifted position, moving toward a dense asteroid field. But this was no ordinary maneuver. The ship's engines bent space subtly, creating a pocket of distorted gravity designed to trap the Council fleet. It was a risk that could either cripple the attackers or annihilate the Valkyrie alongside them. The alien fleet reacted, sensors scanning, weapons charging. They had underestimated human ingenuity, and that was fatal. "Now!" Mercer shouted. The matrix triggered. A wave of distorted space swept outward. Council ships were thrown off course, some colliding with asteroids, others spinning uncontrollably in the void. The flagship struggled to maintain stability, its dark energy pulse failing to synchronize. "Direct hit on their central core," Hart exclaimed. "They're retreating." "Temporarily," Mercer allowed himself a grim smile. "Temporary is enough. Temporary is a start." But the victory was fleeting. A new communication pulse reached the Valkyrie, this one not a threat, but a warning. A deep, resonant voice echoed in the mind, rather than through comms, alien yet incomprehensible. Stanton's console decoded fragments. "You have remembered. You have survived. You will not exist tomorrow unless you yield." Mercer's jaw tightened. The Council had underestimated the human spirit. Threats could not erase resolve. Warnings could not erase history, and fear could never erase courage. "We need to warn Earth," Mercer said, voice low but resolute. "If the Council is willing to erase records, nothing is safe. They'll come for our colonies next. Every system we have, every fleet, must be ready." Hart leaned back, exhausted but resolute. "Then we do what they cannot erase. We become visible, public, impossible to ignore." Reyes cracked a grin despite the tension. "Finally, a fight they can't cheat in." "I like it." Stanton adjusted her controls. "The quantum displacement matrix? It has side effects. We've left a signature. They will trace it." "We're already on their radar," Mercer nodded. "Then let them come. We'll meet them on our terms." The Valkyrie emerged from the chaos battered but unbroken. The fleet of shadows had withdrawn, their arrogance checked, their presumption challenged. Mercer knew it was only the beginning. Humanity had survived the first strike, but the war with the Galaxy Council was just unfolding, and yet in the midst of devastation, there was hope. Hope born not from superior technology, but from defiance, from unity, from the unyielding flame of human will. "Captain," Hart said softly, almost to herself, "they tried to erase us, and yet here we are, still standing." Mercer placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "Not just standing, we are remembered. And as long as we remember ourselves, nothing, not even the Council, can make us disappear." The stars outside the Valkyrie stretched into streaks of light as they accelerated toward Earth. The warning had been sent. Humanity's existence was no longer a secret, no longer a target hidden behind political theater. The galaxy would learn one thing: cross humanity, and the consequences would be remembered, whether the Council wanted it or not. But even as the Valkyrie sped home, Mercer couldn't shake the feeling of a shadow looming. The Council had survived today. They would regroup. They would adapt. And when they returned, the next confrontation would be far more brutal. Yet for the first time, humanity had the upper hand. Knowledge, unity, and the certainty that no one could erase what they had fought to preserve. The first strike had been won. But the war, the real war, was only beginning. The Valkyrie dropped out of hyperspace above Earth's outer orbital station, the sun casting streaks of gold across the hull. The crew had been silent for hours, each lost in thoughts of what had transpired in the void. The battle with the Council fleet had been devastating, yet victorious in its own precarious way. But victory was a fragile thing when the enemy wielded power beyond comprehension. Captain Ryan Mercer stared at the planet below, blue and green and impossibly resilient. Humanity had survived countless wars, countless crises, but this was the first time the galaxy itself had attempted to erase them from existence. And Mercer knew the stakes had only just risen. "Captain?" Olivia Hart said quietly, stepping beside him. "Earth's defenses are mobilizing. We've sent transmissions to every fleet and colony with instructions. The Council will come again and we need everyone ready." Mercer nodded, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "They thought erasing minutes would erase us. But time is a human invention, Hart. History can't be erased by a single council, not if people remember it. Not if people fight for it." Reyes entered the observation deck, rubbing his eyes. "So what's the plan, Captain? Do we wait for them to come knocking, or—" Mercer's gaze finally met his crew. "We take the fight to them. If the Council thinks they can erase us quietly, we show them the cost of underestimating humanity. But this time, we're not just defending, we're exposing them. Every system, every fleet, every civilization that they've silenced or manipulated, we make them witnesses. The galaxy will see what the Council truly is." Dr. Emily Stanton approached, a device in her hands. "I've been running simulations with the residual signature we left from the quantum displacement matrix. It's not perfect, but it can create a cascading awareness effect across multiple star systems. If we deploy it, every civilization we've reached will remember the Council's interference, even if the records have been erased." Mercer's jaw tightened. "Then do it. Every system that remembers is a shield. Every memory is a weapon." The Valkyrie left Earth's orbit and ascended to the edge of the Orion Rift, the same corridor where the Council fleet had first tested humanity. But now Mercer had a plan that didn't rely on conventional weapons. They would weaponize memory itself, a quantum cascade of recorded events, transmitted across every possible channel the Council had attempted to erase. As Stanton initiated the device, Mercer's mind wandered to the Council chamber, to the crystalline dome floating in Andromeda convergence. He imagined the representatives, arrogant and untouchable, suddenly confronted with the undeniable proof that their actions had consequences. Every attempt to erase humanity, every sanction, every manipulative act would echo back at them with brutal clarity. "Device activated," Stanton said. "The cascade is spreading. Systems that were once isolated will now recall us, humanity." Hart's eyes widened. "The Council will see us. They'll know that their erasure failed." "They'll do more than see," Mercer said. "They'll feel it. Every system we've touched, every mind that remembers is a strike. And it's unstoppable." The first ripple came swiftly. Fleets across the galaxy, previously neutral or complicit, suddenly shifted allegiance. Civilizations that had ignored humanity, or worse, that had silently supported the Council's erasure, now questioned their loyalty. Ships that had been ready to attack Earth diverted to aid them. Colonies that had remained silent for decades began transmitting data, recounting their experiences and encounters with humanity. Mercer stood on the bridge, watching the cascade unfold like a living map of the galaxy awakening. This is what they can't erase," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "Not courage. Not loyalty. Not truth." Reyes cracked a grin, tension melting for the first time in weeks. "Finally, the Council can't cheat reality," Hart added, "and the galaxy will remember. Even if the Council tries to rewrite history again, someone, somewhere, will always remember what happened. That's humanity's edge." Stanton's gaze was somber but resolute. "It's not just about survival anymore. It's about legacy, about ensuring no one can erase the sacrifices and courage of those who fight for existence. Meanwhile, the Council realized the shift too late. Their fleets had returned to regroup, only to find communications flooded with evidence of their interference, their duplicity laid bare across thousands of systems. Attempts to suppress the information failed. The quantum cascade was beyond control. A humbling realization rippled through the council chambers. They were not omnipotent. Their erasure could not override the collective memory of the galaxy. Mercer's voice echoed in the comms channels that had once been denied to him. You may have power over records, over bureaucracy, over fleets, but you will never have power over resolve. Humanity remembers, and now, so does the galaxy. The flagship of the Council, a massive black shard drifting in the void, pulsed with energy, not in attack, but in retreat, their arrogance shattered, their certainty broken. Humanity had survived, not through overwhelming force, but through defiance, strategy, and the unyielding human will to be remembered. Days later, the Valkyrie returned to Earth's orbit. Mercer stood on the observation deck, gazing at the planet below, now a symbol of resilience. Hart joined him, her expression reflecting exhaustion and pride. "Do you think they'll come back?" she asked. Mercer shook his head slowly. "They might. But the next time, the galaxy will be watching. Humanity will not fight alone, and no one can erase that again." Reyes appeared behind them, handing a cup of synthesized coffee. "So till we win?" Mercer smiled faintly, a weary but victorious smile. "We survived. We made them remember, and that's the beginning of every victory to come." The Council learned a lesson they'll never forget. Cross humanity, and you don't erase history, you awaken it. Stanton stepped forward, looking out at the blue horizon. "And perhaps that's the lesson the galaxy needs. That no matter how powerful an authority may seem, the smallest spark of defiance can ignite change." Mercer's eyes softened. For the first time, he allowed himself to feel the enormity of what they had accomplished. Humanity had faced the impossible and endured. The Council had crossed the line, and for that, they had paid a price. Not in fleets destroyed, but in awakening the galaxy to the truth. "Prepare the Valkyrie for debrief," Mercer said finally. "The galaxy remembers now. And humanity will write the next chapter." As the sun's light shimmered across the hull, the crew of the Valkyrie felt it. Not just a victory, but a renewal. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and often cruel, but humanity had survived its attempt at erasure. They had crossed the void of indifference and emerged visible, remembered and unbroken, and somewhere deep in the void, the Council would learn in ways they could neither erase nor ignore that humanity's defiance was eternal. The stars outside were no longer just points of light, they were witnesses, and humanity had made its stand.